Now, extreme weather is being recorded around the world, from flooding in Europe to wildfires in the US.
Greece, like so much of Europe, is grappling with extreme weather. And as this part of the Mediterranean burns,
Southern Europe's worst heatwave for more than 30 years has fueled fires across parts of Spain, Italy, Greece and Turkey for 3 days now.
In less than a week, more than 100 forest fires have broken out across the country.
On the island of Evia, by ancient Olympia, people are fleeing. Wildfires have closed in on these shores, and residents and tourists are being crowded onto ferries and fishing boats. Leaving behind the burning island.
Greece, like many parts of Europe, has been grappling with extreme weather this summer, widespread flooding and colder than average temperatures in Central Europe.
In Belgium, heavy rainfall has caused severe flooding less than a fortnight after deadly flash floods across Western Europe. A typhoon is battering China days after severe flooding killed dozens of people. Scientists say these events are becoming more common because warmer temperatures mean the air holds more moisture, which leads to more extreme.
A record heat wave is fueling devastating wildfires across much of the southern Mediterranean and eastern Europe tonight. Hundreds of blazes have broken out, many of them multiplying in recent days. Italy, Croatia, Greece, Bulgaria, North Macedonia, and Ukraine are tackling dozens of wildfires.
Extreme temperatures and dry conditions are fueling wildfires in Northern California. Fire is threatening Spain too. This is the Catalonia region and one of the worst fires here in years. There were similar scenes on the Italian island of Sardinia, an out-of-control fire after a heat wave. While no single event can be attributed to climate change,
to be stuck on a beach, surrounded by fire on all sides. It was a waking nightmare from which the sea was the only salvation. They are fleeing from nature at its most ferocious. Wildfires on the Greek island of Evia forced tourists and residents to be rescued by boat from the beaches. Even the outskirts of Athens weren't safe, with thousands leaving their homes to outrun the fast-moving flames.
Just 30 kilometers from Athens. Firefighters have been struggling to get this latest blaze near the Greek capital under control. Just hours earlier, flames came close to the site of the ancient Olympics.
As this oldest of countries grapples with this very modern peril.
It's the birthplace of the Olympics, where the Games were first held in 776 BC.
In Italy, firefighters have been working day and night to douse the flames. On the island of Sicily, the fires in the mountains are also threatening seaside resorts.
This year's fire season has been one of the most destructive on record, according to EU data. The extraordinary summer is testing the region's response to increasingly extreme conditions.
there was flooding in London too. Water streamed into a train station and turned roads into rivers as representatives from more than 50 countries met to lay the groundwork for November's big climate summit in Glasgow.
Heavy rain has led to widespread flooding in North Korea, where state TV reports that thousands of people have been evacuated from their homes. Large areas of farmland are underwater, and more than 1,000 homes in the country's east coastal region of Homchi-yong have been destroyed.
Officials in India say more than 160 people have died in the past week due to severe floods and major landslides. Many people have also been reported missing in villages along the country's western coast.
Turkey's also wading in as a major disaster area is declared after weeks of flooding and landslides in its northeastern coastal region.
Just the damaged furniture, shops and cars amount to millions.
Thousands of people have been forced to leave their homes in southern Turkey as huge wildfires continue to burn.
Fires blazing on the hillsides and forests near the coastal resorts of Bodrum and Marmaris. Wildfires have been raging for 7 days now in Turkey, and these flames are closing in on the Yenikoi power station. Strong winds, low humidity and scorching temperatures, the weather conditions that help the fire spread.
In Turkey, a wall of fire surged toward a huge power plant on the Aegean coast. Thousands of residents fled. By land,
wildfires are destroying huge swaths of territory around Europe. Finland has been battling its biggest forest fire in half a century. Heat waves are also causing havoc further south. The worst blazes are raging in southern Turkey, where 6 people have been killed.
So there is a very complex process behind all this.
In the meantime, the impact of fires, floods, extreme heat and drought will continue to be felt. With less than 100 days until the Glasgow summit, these events may just focus minds.
Greece's prime minister says the country is experiencing what he calls a nightmarish summer as a record-breaking heat wave fans dozens.
With temperatures above 100 degrees, more than 100 fires have burned through parts of the country over the last week, forcing evacuations and destroying.
More than 150 wildfires are burning right across the country, some close to the northern suburbs of Athens.
The people of this ancient city are dealing with an historic heat wave, Greece's worst for more than 30 years, caused by what meteorologists have called a heat dome.
In Greece's Evia island, in the grip of its own heat wave, more flames tear through a pine forest. With rolling hills and little visibility hampering rescue efforts, it's no surprise over 150 houses are said to have.
But it is in the suburbs of Athens where fires are burning most intensely.
Amid the smoke, we filmed explosions in a village on the outskirts of Athens.
Large swathes of forest completely destroyed.
Strike me as almost precisely the same as the wildfires of 2019/2020 in Australia, and of course the way that the wildfires have emerged in the US, North America as well. So certainly not a coincidence, and something that we know for sure is being made more intense.
Well, there is no doubt about it. We are now in the midst of the worst drought we have seen in modern-day California. Today, experts gathered to lay out where things stand.
Now, Cecilia, to the wildfire crisis in the west. That Dixie fire engulfing an area larger than the size of Los Angeles. Flames are raging through California right now.
This is what it looked like Thursday night on the road to Canyon Dam in the mountains of Northern California. Everything, trees, cars, homes, and more homes in flames.
Wildfire emergency, California's Dixie Fire exploding again overnight, now the third largest.
It took just an hour for these buildings to be incinerated, all from a fire that's now burned for more than 3 weeks, starting small near the town of Paradise. And then growing exponentially this week, it exploded, now becoming the third largest wildfire in California history. Of the state's 7 biggest fires ever, 6 have occurred in the last year.
We're seeing truly frightening fire behavior. We really are in uncharted territory around some of these extreme large fires.
I have never seen a firestorm this bad.
The Dixie Fire in Northern California turning skies red in Lassen County and Susanville. This after the fire demolished the town of Greenville.
We're talking about 2 towns erased from the map in 24 hours.
But he says California's wildfires are creating never-before-seen challenges.
Have they become more dangerous?
Well, over the past 3 years, I think we've all seen it, right? It's just that they're getting hotter and faster, and I think the fire moved from that side of town through the town in maybe about an hour, maybe a little less.
The historic fire season in the West driven by a mega drought that's beginning to affect infrastructure. Lake Oroville is now at less than 25% capacity. Officials were forced to shut down the Hyatt hydroelectric power plant there for the first time ever due to the lack of water.
Another mountain community as the flames, look at this, swallowed up the homes and the trees. In the meantime, here are pictures from outside of the destroyed gold rush town. This is Greenville. Smoke filled the sky with embers and flames rising on both sides of the road.
The fire moved southward Thursday, taking out additional structures along a major highway. And to the west, buildings in the town of Canyon Dam were also seen in flames.
And not at all an exaggeration to say things here are dire. We've got some visuals for you. We'll start at Oroville Dam, now at 34% of average. That's dangerously close to the point where it won't be able to generate any electricity. In Marin, the reservoir levels have reached historic lows, with water managers saying they need to cut use by 40% district-wide. Statewide, firefighters say they're concerned with 9 active wildfires as of today, and the heart of the fire season still ahead of us, that dry conditions could mean bigger burns.
Give you some comparison in where we were last year at this time to where we are now. We do have an increase of the number of incidents across all jurisdictions, about 12%. We're up to 6,049 incidents statewide, as opposed to last year at this time, we were at about 5,400 incidents. The real increase we're seeing right now, which is somewhat alarming, is the number of acres that have been burned.
Wala kahi. Kusugoy.
Gini pa kita kay President, so okay ra.
Allah'ım yardım et ya Rabbi.
哇，这好大的水呀！这放得远点了。先不这样了，我把这走了啊。
灾难无情呐、家里面被淹了，没用了，救人团队、车全部都没用了。
Самый центр, дождь летний переставаем на секунду. Вот, посмотрите, людям приходится обходить. Ударом стихии оказался центр Анапы, район Лавского берега, парк Переслед Победы. Все ушло под воду полностью. И ветер усиляется с каждой секундой. Центр ушел под воду, причем такая глубина, я такого раньше не видел. Доходит до того, что даже внедорожники не справляются. Вот это.
Change is happening on the North Shore. Officials in Peabody are now trying to get to the bottom of a series of mysterious booms. There have been a couple of earthquakes recorded in and around Peabody in recent weeks. Residents say the quakes, though, don't explain all of the noises.
Wild weather rages around the world. These pictures just a snapshot of what's happened within the last 48 hours alone. Now, a landmark UN climate report has delivered a confident and frightening verdict.
All across our globe, extreme weather of seemingly biblical proportions, now a painful new normal.
Well, it's been a week of extreme weather conditions and weather-related disasters around.
The UN says this is a code red for humanity, and there is nowhere to hide.
In every region in the world, climate and weather extremes have changed.
As the world reacts to a landmark climate report, Greece is staring down the real-life impacts, facing its worst fire emergency in the country's modern history.
Dusk turns the sky from charcoal to an ominous blood red.
Vehicles tossing in the torrent. This terrifying eyewitness footage captured the scene in northern Turkey just days ago.
The Italian island of Sicily registered 48.8 degrees Celsius on Wednesday, which, if verified, would be the continent's highest temperature ever recorded. The latest heat wave is being caused by an anticyclone nicknamed Lucifer moving up from Africa.
The Earth's climate is getting so hot that in about a decade, temperatures will likely exceed the level of warming that world leaders are trying to prevent.
It feels like there was an explosion underground.
Tracy Valetti fears what'll happen the next time her house rattles.
We all have gas, and, we don't want to see anything, happen to what happened in the Merrimack Valley a while ago.
She and her neighbors keep hearing loud booms underneath their homes on Emerson Street in Peabody.
If something moves, it could snap a line, and now we're talking about what happened in Methuen and Lawrence.
But they have no idea what's causing the unnerving noises.
All these houses here are all on fieldstone foundations. And if it shakes enough, are they going to just roll out from under our houses like marbles?
There could be an explanation for at least some of the bizarre sounds. 2 small earthquakes rattled the North Shore in recent weeks. The first one hit Peabody on July 25th. It measured a 1.4 on the Richter scale. Another slightly smaller earthquake hit the city just 10 days later. That one registered a magnitude of 1.2. And state emergency management officials tell us that they are now working with city leaders to try to figure out what is causing these noises.
Around the world, fire crews are battling fires tonight on a nearly unprecedented scale. If seeing is believing, many are getting a first-hand look at a worst-case scenario for the
Apocalyptic scenes in parts of southern Italy devoured by flames.
More than 2,000 people were forced to flee wildfires ravaging Greece's second largest island, Avia.
The wildfires burning in Russia now are bigger than all the fires raging across the globe combined, bigger than those in the US, Canada, Turkey and Greece put together. This the view as passengers fly into Yakutia, a region 3,000 miles from Moscow.
Turkey is in the grip of a compounding crisis whilst battling some of the biggest wildfires in its history.
Powerful floods are tearing through its Black Sea provinces, ripping down this house. Whoa! Unusually heavy rainfall has caused the chaos. The flash floods a frightening sight when they first rushed in. Dozens of cars have been strewn through the streets, all stacked high.
The 8 largest fires in California have all occurred in the past 4 years. Unprecedented 116-degree heat in the Pacific Northwest and all-time record highs in Canada, causing hundreds of deaths earlier this summer. And if it's not record heat and fires, it's flooding. Yet again, Venice's iconic St. Mark's Square covered in water far earlier in the year than normal. These horrifying scenes from China, commuters trapped in chest-deep water in train cars, streets transformed into rivers after record rainfall in the center of the country.
How high was the water up to here?
I was in Germany just 3 weeks ago, the site of devastating floods after a once-in-1,000-year rainstorm killed at least 160 people.
There's so many people dead. You don't expect people to die in a flood in Germany.
Buildings in this medieval town, around since before the 15th century, were once thought to be able to stand the test of time, now potentially destroyed by one flood.
From floods that wipe out entire towns to fires that leave forests and homes burned, covered in ash, still smoldering, these extreme, once-in-a-lifetime, unprecedented events are now becoming common, and scientists all point to one thing.
The signs are all there, with fires raging around the world, in Greece and Turkey and in California. Once-in-a-century flash floods killed hundreds in Germany, Belgium, and China this summer. The climate is getting more hostile, and today the UN said it is already too late to stop some of the devastating impacts of climate change.
All this smoke is a problem far beyond Russia. The fires are releasing record quantities of carbon dioxide. This year, already more than Britain's entire annual CO2 emissions, based on an estimate by a European Union agency.
You really feel the scale of the fire here. This whole area burned only about 3 weeks ago. You see, just as far as you can look, it's all blackened and burnt.
With increased temperatures now believed to be inevitable, Yakutia's massive fires are likely to only get worse. Scientists say another sign of how fast and how drastically the planet's climate is changing.
With a history steeped in mythology, locals could be forgiven for wondering what the gods have in store for them next.
And the report warns that the world will experience unprecedented, catastrophic weather conditions.
We've certainly been seeing a lot of extreme weather events in recent days. Just as you're speaking, we're seeing these images of fires. There's been flooding. And there is an entire chapter in this report that's dedicated to extreme weather events. What does it say exactly?
Right. This is the question that we're constantly asking ourselves. Is climate change responsible for all these events that we're seeing? Well, in this report, as you say, what's interesting is that there's going to be a new chapter. This is a major development for the IPCC, looking at the link between extreme weather events and rising temperatures.
We've had months of extreme weather, but prepare for stark warnings that what seems incredible now may become normal in the future.
A wave of mysterious songbird deaths may be reaching Connecticut. It all started in Washington, D.C., then spread as far as Ohio and Pennsylvania.
Animal experts here at the Connecticut Audubon Society say they're not sure what's causing massive bird die-offs in the Midwestern and Southeastern United States, but they say Connecticut's birds could be at risk next.
Centenares de muertos por el terremoto en Haití. El balance de fallecimientos de Protección Civil ascendió a 227 horas después del seísmo de magnitud 7,2 que sacudió este sábado a Haití. Es solo un balance provisional que va a aumentar, ya que hay literalmente cientos de desaparecidos y de heridos. Del total de fallecimientos, 158 se produjeron en la zona sur de Haití. El terremoto ha tenido una intensidad ligeramente superior al sismo de magnitud 7 que en enero de 2010 dejó 300.000 muertos, otros tantos heridos y 1,5 millones de damnificados en Haití.
Esta es la lectura sin comentarios del libro El conflicto de los siglos. Capítulo 37. El conflicto inminente. El espiritismo hace aparecer a Satanás como benefactor de la raza humana, que sana las enfermedades del pueblo y profesa presentar un sistema religioso nuevo y más elevado, pero al mismo tiempo obra como destructor. Sus tentaciones arrastran a multitudes a la ruina. La intemperancia destrona la razón, los placeres sensuales, las disputas y los crímenes la siguen. Satanás se deleita en la guerra, que despierta las más viles pasiones del alma y arroja luego a sus víctimas, sumidas en el vicio y en la sangre, a la eternidad. Su objeto consiste en hostigar a las naciones a hacerse mutuamente la guerra, pues de este modo puede distraer los espíritus de los hombres de la obra de preparación necesaria para subsistir en el día del Señor. Satanás obra asimismo por medio de los elementos para cosechar muchedumbres de almas aún no preparadas. Tiene estudiados los secretos de los laboratorios de la naturaleza y emplea todo su poder para dirigir los elementos en cuanto Dios se lo permita. Cuando se le dejó que afligiera a Job, cuán prestamente fueron destruidos rebaños, ganados, sirvientes, casas e hijos en una serie de desgracias, obra de un momento. Es Dios quien protege a sus criaturas y las guarda del poder del destructor. Pero el mundo cristiano ha manifestado su menosprecio de la ley de Jehová, y el Señor hará exactamente lo que declaró que haría. Alejará sus bendiciones de la tierra y retirará su cuidado protector de sobre los que se rebelan contra su ley y que enseñan y obligan a los demás a hacer lo mismo. Satanás ejerce dominio sobre todos aquellos a quienes Dios no guarda en forma especial. Favorecerá y hará prosperar a algunos para obtener sus fines y atraerá desgracias sobre otros, al mismo tiempo que hará creer a los hombres que es Dios quien los aflige. Al par que se hace pasar ante los hijos de los hombres como un gran médico que puede curar todas sus enfermedades, Satanás producirá enfermedades y desastres al punto que ciudades populosas sean reducidas a ruinas y desolación. Ahora mismo está obrando. Ejerce su poder en todos los lugares y bajo 1000 formas, en las desgracias y calamidades de mar y tierra, en las grandes conflagraciones, en los tremendos huracanes y en las terribles tempestades de granizo, en las inundaciones, en los ciclones, en las mareas extraordinarias y en los terremotos. Destruye las mieses casi maduras y a ellos siguen la hambruna y la angustia. Propaga por el aire emanaciones mefíticas y miles de seres perecen en la pestilencia. Estas plagas irán menudeando más y se harán más y más desastrosas. La destrucción caerá sobre hombres y animales. La tierra se pone de luto y se marchita. Desfallece la gente encumbrada de la tierra. La tierra también es profanada bajo sus habitantes, porque traspasaron la ley, cambiaron el estatuto y quebrantaron el pacto eterno. Isaías 24, 4 y 5. Y luego el gran engañador persuadirá a los hombres de que son los que sirven a Dios los que causan esos males. La parte de la humanidad que haya provocado el desagrado de Dios lo cargará a la cuenta de aquellos cuya obediencia a los mandamientos divinos es una reconvención perpetua para los transgresores. Se declarará que los hombres ofenden a Dios al violar el descanso del domingo, que este pecado ha traído calamidades que no concluirán hasta que la observancia del domingo no sea estrictamente obligatoria, y que los que proclaman la vigencia del cuarto mandamiento, haciendo con ello que se pierda el respeto debido al domingo y rechazando el favor divino, turban al pueblo y alejan la prosperidad temporal. Y así se repetirá la acusación hecha antiguamente al siervo de Dios y por motivos de la misma índole. Y sucedió, luego que Acab vio a Elías, que le dijo a Acab: ¿Estás tú aquí, perturbador de Israel? A lo que respondió: No he perturbado yo a Israel, sino tú y la casa de tu padre, por haber dejado los mandamientos de Jehová y haber seguido a los Baales. Primera de Reyes 18, 17 y 18. Cuando con falsos cargos se haya despertado la ira del pueblo, éste seguirá con los embajadores de Dios una conducta muy parecida a la que siguió el apóstata Israel con Elías. El poder milagroso que se manifiesta en el espiritismo ejercerá su influencia en perjuicio de los que prefieren obedecer a Dios antes que a los hombres. Habrá comunicaciones de espíritus que declararán que Dios los envió para convencer de su error a los que rechazan el domingo y afirmarán que se debe obedecer a las leyes del país como a la ley de Dios. Lamentarán la gran maldad existente en el mundo y apoyarán el testimonio de los ministros de la religión en el sentido de que la degradación moral se debe a la profanación del domingo. Grande será la indignación despertada contra todos los que se nieguen a aceptar sus aseveraciones. La política de Satanás en este conflicto final con el pueblo de Dios es la misma que la seguida por él al principio de la gran controversia en el cielo. Hacía como si procurase la estabilidad del gobierno divino, mientras que por lo bajo hacía cuanto podía por derribarlo y acusaba a los ángeles fieles de esa misma obra que estaba así tratando de realizar. La misma política de engaño caracteriza la historia de la Iglesia romana. Ha profesado actuar como representante del cielo mientras trataba de elevarse por encima de Dios y de mudar su ley. Bajo el reinado de Roma, los que sufrieron la muerte por causa de su fidelidad al Evangelio fueron denunciados como malhechores, se los declaró en liga con Satanás y se emplearon cuantos medios se pudo para cubrirlos de oprobio y hacerlos pasar ante los ojos del pueblo y ante ellos mismos por los más viles criminales. Otro tanto sucederá ahora. Mientras Satanás trata de destruir a los que honran la ley de Dios, los hará acusar como transgresores de la ley, como hombres que están deshonrando a Dios y atrayendo sus castigos sobre el mundo. Dios no violenta nunca la conciencia, pero Satanás recurre constantemente a la violencia para dominar a aquellos a quienes no puede seducir de otro modo. Por medio del temor o de la fuerza procura regir la conciencia y hacerse tributar homenaje. Para conseguir esto, obra por medio de las autoridades religiosas y civiles y las induce a que impongan leyes humanas contrarias a la ley de Dios. Los que honran el sábado de la Biblia serán denunciados como enemigos de la ley y del orden, como quebrantadores de las restricciones morales de la sociedad y por lo tanto causantes de anarquía y corrupción que atraen sobre la tierra los altos juicios de Dios. Sus escrúpulos de conciencia serán presentados como obstinación, terquedad y rebeldía contra la autoridad. Serán acusados de deslealtad hacia el gobierno. Los ministros que niegan la obligación de observar la ley divina predicarán desde el púlpito que hay que obedecer a las autoridades civiles porque fueron instituidas por Dios. En las asambleas legislativas y en los tribunales se calumniará y condenará a los que guardan los mandamientos. Se falsearán sus palabras y se atribuirán a sus móviles las peores intenciones. A medida que las iglesias protestantes rechacen los argumentos claros de la Biblia en defensa de la ley de Dios, desearán imponer silencio a aquellos cuya fe no pueden rebatir con la Biblia. Aunque se nieguen a verlo, el hecho es que están asumiendo actualmente una actitud que dará por resultado la persecución de los que se niegan en conciencia a hacer lo que el resto del mundo cristiano está haciendo y a reconocer los acertos hechos en favor del día de reposo papal. Los dignatarios de la Iglesia y del Estado se unirán para hacer que todos honren el domingo y para ello apelarán al cohecho, a la persuasión o a la fuerza. La falta de autoridad divina se suplirá con ordenanzas abrumadoras. La corrupción política está destruyendo el amor a la justicia y el respeto a la verdad. Y hasta en los Estados Unidos de la libre América se verá a los representantes del pueblo y a los legisladores tratar de asegurarse el favor público doblegándose a las exigencias populares por una ley que imponga la observancia del domingo. La libertad de conciencia que tantos sacrificios ha costado no será ya respetada. En el conflicto que está por estallar veremos realizarse las palabras del profeta. Airóse el dragón contra la mujer y se fue para hacer guerra contra el residuo de su simiente, los que guardan los mandamientos de Dios y tienen el testimonio de Jesús. Apocalipsis 12:17. Hemos presentado la lectura sin comentarios del libro El conflicto de los siglos, escrito por Elena Harmon de White.